Mr. Festus Okoye, well, tell us, are you ready for tomorrow's election in Anambra?
Yes, the commission is ready. As you pointed out, on the 19th day of January, we have not even missed a single one. So as of today, out of the 14 items on that particular list, we have accomplished 13. So the 14th item revolves around the elections tomorrow. Now, yesterday, we moved all these sensitive materials out of the central bank in Oka. And the movement and this, was witnessed by representatives of civil society groups and organizations, the various political parties, and the media. So all the sensitive materials moved to the 21 local government areas of Anambra State yesterday. We also moved the bimodal voter accreditation system to all the 21 local government areas of Anambra State yesterday. And from the information available to me, all the sensitive materials arrived safely because they were accompanied by representatives of political parties and the various security agencies. We have also mobilized our ad hoc staff ready for this particular election. And 2 weeks ago, the non-sensitive materials were deployed to the various local governments, and they have been sorted in accordance with the 326 registration areas in Anambra State. So in relation to this particular election, the commission is ready, and we are raring to go.
Okay, let me also ask you how to define this readiness. I know you've talked about the disbursement of the sensitive materials and all that, but INEC has also, have to deal with the issue of late commencement of voting, even on the D-Day. So is that going to be, has that been taken care of? I hope we're not going to experience issues of maybe missing, materials, non-arrival of materials, late commencement of voting at different centers.
Sorry, I didn't hear you.
I want you to talk to us about commencement of voting on the D-Day. It has always been an issue, during elections. Has that also been taken care of?
I'm still having challenges with the issue of interference.
I don't know. Yeah, Claire, I don't know. He has some audio issues there. Mr. Festus Okoye, can you hear us now?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Well, maybe there's a special connection from my audio to yours. But my colleague Claire will have the opportunity of asking her question. But tell us, in terms of the conduct of the Anambra governorship election, what is unique from the perspective of INEC? In other words, what is the new thing that you are introducing to this election?
Well, this particular commission introduced so many innovations in the electoral process, especially in the use of technology. Now, what we have done is that we created or converted 1,112 voting points into fledged polling units. These polling units,
if you can hear me, it looks like there is a television set in your room, and the volume is up. Maybe you have to, not maybe, you'll have to reduce the volume of the TV set considerably, so that the echo or reverberation that is interfering with your response can be eliminated. If that is so, just proceed again with your response to my question, namely, what is new that INEC is introducing in this election?
Hello, I didn't get that.
So, okay, Mr. Okoye, our engineers will liaise with you on the best way to minimize or eliminate the echo or reverberation coming from your end. Ezewa Wago, you are right there also via Zoom with us from Oka, I believe, unless you are Tundewi or Nature, where you are monitoring this. We understand you've been around Anambra for a while now. What have you been picking up?
Well, thank you. I've been in around Doka and been participating in different trainings for our observers, both for Yaga Africa and for the Nigerian Civil Society Situation Room. Those trainings have been completed and they've been very effective. And as we speak, we are also ready for elections. Yesterday, we collected our kits from the Independent National Electoral Commission. And as at this morning, the last batches of those kits have been sent out to the observers in the 21 local governments. Like your reporter in Oka said, one of the biggest threats to the Saturday election has been more of intentional, if you like, deliberate scaremongering. Scaremongering that is sometimes you really wonder where those things, because I've told friends that I've had the opportunity to talk with that the worry for this election seems to me to be more outside of Anambra State than within Anambra State. And I say that purposely because, as you know, ordinarily during elections, movements are restricted generally because people will have to walk from their houses to the polling units. And as we speak now, those polling units have been made more friendlier in that they have been brought a little closer home to people. And most of the people who will be voting will not need to travel. The challenge for traveling will be for those of us who have to rove around to see what's going to happen. So, and having moved around myself in the last 1 week within Anambra State, from Oka to Newi to Onitsha and the rest of the places, I am confident that we will have a good election on Saturday.
Okay, Mr. Nwagu, let me also ask you. I'm sure you've had interactions with, some of the Anambras. What are their thoughts? What's the mood like? The people, among the people, are they enthusiastic? Are they enthusiastic about coming out to vote?
Well, it's mixed because let's not pretend about it. The whole propaganda is deep, and many people are responding to it in different ways. But the last few weeks there has been a lot of sensitization, voter education, one-on-one, and the political parties themselves. Like I said, about 18 of them are in this process, and they are the main actors in the election. They have not said that there is no conducive environment for them to have this election. So moving around, when you talk to people, there are people who are looking forward to the election. There are others who are still talking about it. But that's not completely new, because we also, though not with the same intensity, but we faced this in 2017, if you could recall. There was also this threat about the election will not hold. And what we have continued to do is to say, look, it's important that Anambra people are determined to vote, and it's important for them to realize and understand why they have to vote. So that conversation is deep and is getting down into. But and honestly speaking, we trained 500 observers, and as at the last count, 499 of those observers were still in touch with them, and that is 99% for that's the observers of Yaga Africa. And I know also that for the situation, there has not been any changes in terms of those who have signed in to be part of this election. So sometimes I really wonder if the observers that we have are ready to participate, and we don't bring observers from outside of Anambra State. The observers are indigenous, they come from their places. If they themselves are willing and enthusiastic to participate, then we're upbeat that we're going to have elections. But although you can also look at the history of Anambra, that historically, like I've said, they have very low turnout in elections. We've never, in 2017, I think it was between 22% and 25% turnout. So we're hoping and praying that the Anambra people will come out this time around to show that they understand why they have to come and vote this Saturday.
Mr. Zenwa, just one more question from me. How important would you say is this election, especially to our democratic process?
How important is
this Anambra election? Why must this Anambra election hold peacefully?
Well, it's important because there are, in 5 months' time, thereabouts, you have to have a new governor. If you don't have a new governor, the constitution is clear about what that will mean, and I'm not sure that stakeholders in Anambra are prepared for that. I think that everybody in Anambra understands that it's important that you have a government that is elected by the people of Anambra. Otherwise, what you will have is that somebody will be imposed on them, and at that point in time, the laws that would take effect will not be one that will be so much friendly for the people of Anambra. And I think they understand that. So it's important that we have peaceful elections. And Anambra, ordinarily, historically, is not so known so much for electoral violence. I think we need to underscore that the threats have been sometimes extraneous. We know that they are litigious people. They like to go to courts and resolve their issues. But in the election, history of election in Anambra State, there is not so much in terms of electoral violence. So we want to ride on that and continue to plead with Anambra people to keep that up, to ensure that. And yet, yesterday, when the DIG that represented the Inspector General of Police at the peace accord signing event yesterday in Awka, the DIG reiterated the fact that being himself from Anambra, understanding the history of his own people, that they are not violent people, and I concur with that. And that's what I continue to plead with the people of Anambra, to shame those people who think that they want to put a slur on that positive election history that they have.
Well, thanks again also for reiterating this perspective as to the place of violence in Anambra elections. One of the governorship candidates who was our guest on Good Morning Nigeria earlier in the week stated that point and buttressed it, of course, with facts. But I was just wondering, I mean, you're a veteran of observing a number of off-cycle and general elections. Off-cycle, whether Kogi, Bayelsa, Edo, Ondo, Ekiti, and Osun states. What, in your opinion, are the... all right, everyone, we understand you're off in the meantime, so we'll come back to our studios. Dr. Saeed Husseini, of course, you've been kept on pause while we were trying to get our connections to the other guests who are with us from remote locations. What's your reading of the Anambra election? I mean, one point to underscore is what Ezenwa said today. We had a guest yesterday, Cynthia Umbamalu, who is also a regular on Good Morning Nigeria, she's of Yaga, Africa. And the point appears to be that those who are outside Anambra are probably misreading the mood in Anambra in terms of the lead-up. Everyone is harping on violence, violence, violence. But those who are inside do not appear to have that same level or intensity of apprehension.
Yeah, thank you very much. And I think I'll echo a lot of what Mr. Ezenwa has said. I think that one cannot overemphasize the necessity for peace. So that's one area in which there is agreement, both within the state capital, Awka, and in Anambra more generally, and here in Abuja or elsewhere in the country where observers have been paying attention to developments in Anambra. So at the CDD, I think our major message is to sue for peace across the variety of stakeholders that are involved in bringing this election together. I think the other point to emphasize that my colleague raised, Mr. Ezenwa raised, is the question of how voters will respond. So yes, it's true that there has been some amount of consternation and concern across the country in the lead up to these elections, and even though some of it is very rightfully can be blamed on disinformation and some level of alarm, there have been genuine concerns as a result of the actions of non-state armed groups. But I think, yeah, it's important to once again urge voters to not be intimidated by any threats to their franchise, and while remaining vigilant to ensure to exercise their franchise, because the issue of low voter turnouts that have historically plagued elections in the state is really one that we ought to start thinking about how we can resolve.
Okay, the concept of signing peace accords seems to have come to stay. It's, I don't know, does it indicate some kind of, I don't want to use underdevelopment, some kind of misunderstanding of the democratic process? What really does it tell us about our ability to deepen our democracy?
Well, I'd say a couple of things there. I think one is to acknowledge the fact that we are still early in the process of the democratic experience. I mean, in the case of Nigeria, this is the longest stretch of unbroken democracy that we've had in our history, and that's 20 years. Whereas, of course, in the global community, there are countries that have been democracies for hundreds of years plus. So the fact that we still see candidates needing to sign peace accords or to affirm their commitment to peace, I think does reflect that democracy is an ongoing process, and that there's learning that can occur, and it's a process indeed, and not a destination. And this is even the case in the countries where you've seen hundreds of years of experience with democracy. So the peace accords themselves, I think, are not necessarily a bad thing, and to the extent that candidates take that commitment beyond mere rhetoric, I think it does strengthen and deepen the experience, the practice of democracy.
Okay, Dr. Hussaini, thanks a lot. We are going back to Festus Okoye, who is with us from Awka, the Anambra State capital. Mr. Festus Okoye, before we lost the connection to your end, I asked you what was unique about what INEC is doing with regard to the Anambra election, whether to enhance the integrity, whether to enhance the fairness or the freeness of the election. What is the new thing that INEC is doing?